Howdy, y'all, it's Curious Raven with two short creepypasta stories today. The first one is called I'm Afraid to Fall Asleep, and it's by Soviet Capybara. Maybe this is just the norm for everyone. If so, then I'm about to sound like a fool. For as long as I can remember, dreams have always felt all too real. I can still remember nightmares I had as a child, often more vividly than my own memories. I struggle to distinguish my memories of reality from those that I have only occurred in the depths of my own mind. Many times as a child, I would recall events to my parents only to be met with confused looks, followed by reprimands for telling stories. When I dream, I wake up exhausted. I've always heard that sleep is supposed to be restful, but I've always just assumed that it was a misconception. How can the intensity of dreams possibly feel like rest? Last night was like any other. I followed my usual routine, took some melatonin gummies, and then lay down to rest, making sure my nightlight was on. Yes, I'm a grown man, but I always keep a light on for comfort. Something about being alone in the darkness of my own thoughts is unsettling, especially when I already struggle to decipher what is real. It also provides solace when I jolt awake in the middle of the night, a reminder that whatever I experience can't affect me anymore. It took what felt like hours to fall asleep, but at some point, I finally drifted off. I found myself on a road, similar to a quaint downtown I grew up in, but uncomfortably different. It was noon, the sun had an orange tint, and the sky was a pale yellow. People were in the streets in a panic, terrified of something, yet their faces were devoid of emotion. Had it not been for their body language, I wouldn't have realized anything was wrong. There was a man who stood out. He was standing in the barber shop across the street, calmly staring out the window. He wore a blue and white suit embellished with multicolored sequins, a stark contrast to the dull, warm colors around us. I looked around and spotted a reptilian creature a few hundred yards away. It was about 7 feet tall, standing on two hind legs covered in brownish-greenish scales. It had massive red talons on each appendage and rows of teeth like a shark, but with a cat-like canines, saliva dripping from its jaws as it looked into the crowd. I recognized that it was distracted, and I slowly began to walk towards an alley, hoping to go unnoticed. I took my first steps and instantly realized that it was the first sound I had heard since arriving in this town. I looked back at the creature, which was now looking in my direction. It tilted its head back and let out a deafening screech as it began to charge at me. Each step shook the ground. I instinctively sprinted down the alley, desperately trying to escape as the creature's steps grew louder. I didn't dare look back. I just kept my head forward as I exited the alley onto another street. Ahead of me, I saw a familiar road sign, followed by several dilapidated houses, all unique. The road sign was purple, and one of its sections read Joy Avenue. It was the road I grew up on. I began to recognize the houses on the road and noticed my childhood home on the hill at the end of the road. Still running, I could still hear the footsteps getting closer and the ground shaking more intensely. I crossed a few more blocks and then I saw it. My old house. I finally reached the front porch and started banging against its old wooden door. Let me in! Help! I was quickly knocked to the floor as the door swung open. I looked up to see a hand reaching out. Get up, come inside quickly. I grabbed the hand and looked up to see who it belonged to. I was comforted to see it was my mother. Though considerably younger, she didn't seem to recognize me. She lifted me up to my feet and hastily dragged me inside, locking the door behind us. The house looked so familiar, yet eerily different. The couch was the same but a different color. The ceiling was covered in wallpaper, and the dimensions of the living room were slightly off. The fireplace on the wall was filled with ice and cool blue flames that seemed to be keeping the house cool. All the blinds were tightly closed, but they were backwards, defying gravity as they hung from the windowsill and were dangling upwards towards the ceiling. "We are safe now. It can't see us in here. Are you okay?" "I'm all right, but I'm a little out of breath. I saw you coming. I almost thought you weren't going to make it. I'm Susan, by the way." "I'm Sean." At this point, it was clear that the version of my mother that I had never met before. "What was that thing?" Susan chuckled, paused, and then gave me a look of confusion. "Wait, are you serious? How have you never seen a booma before?" Pause briefly. "Gotcha. I really had you fooled, didn't I?" "Huh, good one. They have been bad this year. I can't wait for winter to get here." "Winter? The cold season, when all the reptiles hibernate. Come on, Caleb. Did you flunk out of grade school or something?" "Oh, yeah, sorry. I just a little shaken up still, that's all. You can wait here until the booma leaves, then I can take you to your car." "I don't think I have a car." "No car? How do you even survive the summers?" "Fine, I can take you home then. Where do you live?" "Wait, this is my home." I was suddenly hit with a realization that I was in a dream. It doesn't always happen, but when it does, I can often wake myself up to escape whatever nightmare I'm in. I tried to open my eyes to awaken. Within a moment, I was transported back to my bed. I sat up, my heart was racing, and I was out of breath. I lay back down and breathed a sigh of relief. It was over. I decided to watch some videos on my phone to calm myself down. As a hobbyist magician, my feed is often filled with tutorials on tricks. I found a video that seemed to draw me in almost magnetically and pulled it up. The video started with a shot of a card table. On the table was a single card. The magician stretched out his arm and flipped it over, revealing a jack of diamonds. "Is this your card?" I noticed that my hand was now lying next to me, so I could have sworn I was holding my phone with both hands. I felt something between my fingers and lifted it up. In the dim light, I could just barely make out the jack of diamonds. I felt my heart sink and my body tremble. I looked back at the video, and the camera had now panned up to the magician's face. I immediately recognized his fashion sense: a blue and white suit, embellished with sequins, and a grin stretching from ear to ear. The second story is by OK Promotion. Okay, the second story is by OK Promotion 6703, and it is called "I Went to Find Missing People. It Was Not the Right Time to Go." I've always been fascinated by urban exploration, but this trip was different. This time, I wasn't just searching for abandoned relics. I was searching for people. When I heard about an abandoned village with a derelict hospital on the outskirts and rumors of people who had mysteriously vanished, I couldn't resist. Equipped with my trusty flashlight, notebook, camera, smartphone, smartwatch, med kit, and a sturdy pair of boots, I set off early one foggy morning, determined to uncover the truth. The village was eerily silent as I approached. Overgrown vegetation had reclaimed much of the area, and the old, dilapidated houses stood by sentinels, guarding their untold stories. I started with the houses, cautiously stepping inside each one, my flashlight cutting through the darkness. Each house felt like a time capsule, frozen in the moment when the last person left. Dusty furniture, faded photographs, and forgotten trinkets whispered tales of the lives once lived there. As I moved deeper into the village, my camera clicked away, capturing the haunting beauty of the decay. I meticulously noted down my observations, hoping to piece together the history of this ghostly place later. But it wasn't until I reached the hospital at the edge of the village that I felt a chill run down my spine. The hospital loomed ahead, its broken windows and crumbling facade giving it an even more sinister appearance. I hesitated for a moment before pushing the heavy doors open. It creaked loudly, as if protesting my intrusion. The air inside was stale, filled with the scent of mildew and something I couldn't quite place. My flashlight flickered as I stepped into the main hall, its beam illuminating the peeling wallpaper and shattered glass strewn across the floor. The hospital was massive, the long, winding corridors that seemed to stretch into eternity. I made my way through the desolate halls, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Room after room I entered, remnants of a once bustling facility, rusted hospital beds, medical equipment covered in dust, and patient records scattered haphazardly. Each discovery felt like a piece of a puzzle, but there was a sense of dread that grew with every step I took. I reached a room marked Records. I felt a strange compulsion to enter. Inside, I found shelves upon shelves of old files. I picked one at random and opened it. The patient's name was scribbled in faded ink, but what caught my attention was the date. It was from the 1950s. My smartwatch buzzed, reminding me to check my phone. I had a signal, which was odd given the remoteness of this location. As I scrolled through my notifications, I noticed a series of messages from an unknown number. They were cryptic, with phrases like, "You're not alone," and "They see you." My heart raced as I looked around, but there was no one there. I quickly pocketed my phone and continued my exploration, trying to shake off the unease. I entered another room, this one filled with surgical equipment. My flashlight beam caught something shiny in the corner. I approached and saw it was a notebook, much like mine. I picked it up and flipped through the pages. It belonged to another urban explorer, and the last entry was dated just a week ago. The final entry sent chills down my spine. It read, "I hear whispers. Someone's following me. If you find this, leave immediately. It's not safe." A sudden noise from the corridor made me jump. It sounded like footsteps. I turned off my flashlight and held my breath, straining to listen. The footsteps grew louder and closer. My smartwatch buzzed again, displaying a single word: run. I didn't need any more encouragement. I bolted from the room, sprinting down the dark hallways, my heart pounding in my chest. The footsteps behind me quickened, keeping pace with my own. I burst through the front doors and didn't stop running until I was back at my car. As I drove away, I glanced back at the village. It seemed even more ominous now, a place that should be left alone. My phone buzzed once more. Another message from the unknown number. "You escaped, but not for long." I never went back to that village or the hospital. Some places are meant to remain forgotten, their secrets buried with time, and sometimes those secrets are better left undiscovered. I like that story. I hope y'all liked both of these stories. Just know I will talk to y'all next week, and I love y'all so much. Until then, remember it's scary out there. Please like and subscribe.
own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross